It took us a while to get there, but the Cubs finally beat the Braves, blanking them, holding them hostage from scoring a run in this game. And listen, we got to talk about that man, Ben Brown. And we're going to preview the next series and why you do not sleep on the White Sox. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot from all things Chicago Cubs. I'm your host, Mike Jones. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I appreciate each and every last one of you. Make sure that you guys like, share, and subscribe so that you never miss a single episode of Chicago Cubs Central and all the action going on right here. Now, with that being said, guys, our Chicago Cubs, we got to go ahead. It's been a while since we've done it. Let's fly that W. That's right. Almost damn near a week, y'all, since we have successfully had another Chicago Cubs dub. This one comes courtesy of none other than Ben Brown, Ian Happ, and the Chicago Cubs. They did their thing, winning this game against the Atlanta Braves, the best team in baseball. That's right. I said the best team in baseball, at least record-wise for right now, right? Well, the Chicago Cubs did go ahead and do handle their business against the best team in baseball, making sure that they blank the Atlanta Braves, a high-powered offensive team that has given the Chicago Cubs fret. It looked like in this series, the Chicago Cubs were playing against their big brothers, and you just knew they didn't have a shot in hell at taking any of these games. To be quite honest with you, the poll was put out. Did you think the Chicago Cubs are going to get swept? And honestly, I think Sleeper Cubs put it out. And I mean, even being a Cubs content creator, y'all, I have to be honest with myself and honest with all of y'all. I did at some point start to think like, man, the Cubs might get swept, in this series. I mean, like I said, you lose the first two games and then you go from there and you're like, oh, man, now you got to freaking play, what I'm saying, against Chris Sale. And I'm like, dude, he has been a Cub killer. And he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's a lefty, blah, 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 all these different things, right? Well, at the end of the day, it's like they say, you still got to roll the ball out to the mound, step to the plate, and the game still has to be played. And we'll see. We'll let the chips fall where they may from there. So for me, man, like I said, it's just one of those things where I'm looking at the Chicago Cubs and I'm like, man, this is a tough series for you. And again, to go back to back from tough series, to leave from Texas and see Texas, two of Texas's best pitchers, and then come and basically see three of Atlanta's best pitchers. That's tough. But our Chicago Cubs do go ahead and squander up a victory, getting a victory against these Atlanta Braves, putting the Chicago Cubs at 28-16. Now, let's dive into it a little bit deeper. Why did the Chicago Cubs win this game? Well, first and foremost, y'all, the backbone of the Chicago Cubs is their defense. I understand everybody wants them to become this offensive juggernaut. We've enjoyed the games, especially during both win streaks where it looked like the Chicago Cubs could score with the best of them. Guys, make no mistake about it. The identity of this Chicago Cubs team is their defense. That triangle, Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner, Pete Crow Armstrong. And then you have a juggernaut over in left field in Ian Happ. And then, of course, you got another amazing third baseman, defensive player. And then you got an arriving good first baseman, defensive player. So when you look at this, you say to yourself, okay, pretty much all of your infield and a lot of your outfield is elite defensively. And that makes it hard for teams to score runs unless they're hitting home runs. And that revolves around the pitching. Well, the pitching has been pretty fairly good for the Chicago Cubs. I mean, all things being considered, guys, losing K. Horton, Justin Steele being pushed back, his time of return being pushed back, all of these different things happening. Jackson Wiggins not being ready to be called up to the majors. All of these things being considered, the Chicago Cubs have gotten pretty stellar pitching out of Colin Ray, out of Javier Assad, out of Ben Brown, out of these guys that you just can trust. And it's really, really paid off dividends for the club. These guys come into the games and they just show you that they're able to do what needs to be done to win baseball games. Now, again, like I said, if the Chicago Cubs are giving up the home run ball, that makes it tough. But if you're getting the ground balls, if you're getting the grounders, if you're getting guys, that are striking out, like I said, then what more could you ask for? And to be quite honest with you guys, this is what they got from Ben Brown tonight. Ben Brown started this game for the Chicago Cubs, went 4 innings, allowing 1 hit, 0, big fat 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts on 65 pitches, 40 of those being strikes. Ben Brown's ERA jumps down to 1.60. That's his ERA now. Then after that, Hobie Milner comes up after him. Normally, that's the spot where you think you would see Javier Assad, but I think we're going to see Javier Assad start a game against the White Sox this weekend. But anyways, Hobie Milner comes up next, gives you 2 scoreless innings, only allowing 1 hit, 1 strikeout, 25 pitches, 18 of those being strikes. Phil Maton, I was ready and prepared to do a whole episode on the whole Phil Maton, experiment project, whatever you want to call it, and how it's failed and why he's not in Texas anymore and why the Chicago Cubs might have got him for the deal that they got him for, but has he paid off the dividends yet? And I mean, for what it's worth, I'm still not sold on Phil Maton, but he does come into this game. He does pitch 1 inning. He does only give up 1 hit. He does get 2 strikeouts, and he does it on 14 pitches, 11 of those being strikes. His ERA is still 7.71, so God help him. He's got a long road to get to where he's trying to get to. But then after that, Jacob Webb, somebody else that I haven't necessarily always been impressed with. Jacob Webb gives you another inning, only allowing 1 hit, 1 strikeout on 16 pitches, 12 of those being strikes, a 3.44 ERA. And then last but not least, Daniel Palencia, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts, 16 pitches, 12 strikes, a 2.25 ERA for Danny P as he closes this game out and gives the Chicago Cubs the victory. So listen, man, like I said, the Cubs have given you reason to over this last little stretch. They've given you reason to pause. They've given you reason to worry. But then they also have shown you, like, they're still a damn good team. And guys, we have to realize something. The MLB season is long, and there are going to be highs and lows. And every single time the Chicago Cubs has a low, we can't immediately go to, something's got to change or something's got to be better. And I'm not just talking about you guys. I'm talking about me, myself, and I as well. We got to, like I said, I can very well see the Chicago Cubs maybe opting to not add a starting pitcher, but more so building up their bullpen with lockdown guys. Because, I mean, if you think about it right now, like, sure, Hobie Milner is okay. Craig Counsell, a Craig Counsell guy. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Phil Maton is trying to reclaim himself and get back to where he needs to be. Sure. Daniel Palencia, we like what he does. Jacob Webb, jury's still out. Now, like I said, you hope that when you get Caleb Thielbar back, that solidifies another spot. But very well, we could absolutely see the Chicago Cubs opt to not go out and get a starter, but literally go out and build up their bullpen. And that's our question for the day for you today. Which would you rather the Chicago Cubs do? Would you rather the Chicago Cubs go out and get a starting pitcher, a lockdown, shutdown starting pitcher that's probably going to cost you 2 infield pieces, and a prospect, 2 infield prospects and maybe another pitcher, versus going out and making trades to solidify your bullpen and give you the guys that you need in your bullpen that you can literally stretch out anybody, any game. Craig Counsell, guys, has done a lot of old school National League tactics this year with how he has manage the Chicago Cubs, and he's managing himself potentially to a manager of the year. I know it's still too early to talk about it, still too early to tell. We got to see where the Cubs end finish in the standings. But again, they're on pace to win 109 games right now. They do that, he's going to win manager of the year. But I look at this Cubs team and just, you have to appreciate what they're doing. And another thing you got to appreciate club leading home run getter Ian Happ. His 10th home run of the season gives an insurance run to the Chicago Cubs. He goes 2 for 3 in this game. He has a .234 batting average. He does score 2 runs. He scores both runs for the Cubs in this game. One off a home run, one off a RBI. I mean, again, I know a lot of people are going to say Ian Happ isn't that, or they want Ian Happ gone. But listen, all he does is just keep hitting homers. Team leading home run getter right now. He's showing you his worth. And for the Chicago Cubs, they've needed every single last one of them. So we'll see what happens with Ian Happ. Last but not least, the Chicago Cubs now are getting ready to face probably one of the funnest rivalries in all of baseball. South side, north side, right? I remember back in the day, having, Ozzie Guillen and Lou Piniella commercials, on Comcast Sportsnet when, it was Cubs versus White Sox. I can even go back to, like I said, remembering the Dusty Baker days, when it's Cubs versus White Sox. I remember, obviously, A.J. Przinsky and Michael Barrett. Their fight is the most infamous portion of the Cubs White Sox challenge. The Crosstown Cup, Crosstown Classic, has resided with the Chicago Cubs for quite some time now. But this Chicago White Sox team is nothing like any of those teams that they've beaten in the past. This team is young, this team is well managed, and this team is hungry. And this is my last topic for today. Do not sleep on the White Sox. They run the bases very well. They steal bags. They hit home runs. They get base hits. They score very well. I don't believe in their pitching. So if there's anything that is a bright side to the Cubs facing the White Sox is I don't believe in the White Sox pitchers. So this is a chance for the Cubs to get right pitching-wise. I'm going to be at that game Saturday. I would do a live stream after the game is over with on Saturday. But listen, the Chicago Cubs cannot go into this series thinking that they can just do whatever they want against the White Sox. This ain't the White Sox of old. This ain't shit every year White Sox. These young kids led by Colson Montgomery, these young kids led, by some of these, by Vargas, and of course Murakami. These young kids are serious, and they're coming to prove a point. And their manager don't have to tell them how important it is to beat the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs cannot take the White Sox lightly. This series is very important. This is a get-right series for the Chicago Cubs before you welcome in the Milwaukee Brewers next week. Get right here. Get back to scoring some runs. Get back to manufacturing some offense. Get back to doing the small things correctly. This is a very good tune-up series against a streaky, is the word I would use for them. They're streaky, a streaky White Sox club that if you come in there and you nonchalantly try to ho-hum through these games, you could find yourself losing this first series against the White Sox. And I mean that. That's very, very true. The White Sox absolutely have the firepower to beat the Chicago Cubs. Pitching-wise, they don't. But if the Chicago Cubs go in and they're just rolling over grounders and not scoring the baseball, or not running the bases and not scoring, then they could very well find themselves losing this series to the White Sox. This is a game White Sox club. So let's see. Let's look at the matchups. Let's see what we got here. Cubs will send Edward Cabrera back to the mound Friday night, 6:40 start time, and he's going to go up against Sean Burke. Sean Burke last year against Chicago Cubs. I was at the game Sean Burke pitched against Chicago Cubs last year, where the Cubs beat the White Sox at Wrigley. Very, very interested to see what happens with this time. Obviously, Edward Cabrera in his last start took his first loss of the season, looking to get back right. He has a 3.88 ERA. Sean Burke is 2-3 with a 3.68 ERA, a whip of 1.09. Yeah, man, like I said, so we're very, very interested to see what happens in that series, in that game. Next up, Saturday game I'll be at. J-Mo takes the mound for the Chicago Cubs. By the time Jameson Tyone, it just kind of depends which version of J-Mo we get. J-Mo could easily strike out 10 White Sox if they come up and they're just swinging like crazy. Meanwhile, the White Sox are going to send up their best pitcher. Their best pitcher is going to be on the mound on Saturday's game. He's 5-1. His name is Davis Martin. Davis Martin is 5-1 with a 1.62 ERA, a whip of 1.00. He has pitched 50 innings for the White Sox and has looked great in just about every single one of them. Then we go to the Sunday game, the Sunday 1:10 start time. Colin Ray versus Eric Feedy. Feedy has not won a baseball game yet this year for the Chicago White Sox. For the Chicago Cubs, they send up Colin Ray, Mr. Dependable, who is 4-2. Colin Ray actually has a higher ERA than Feedy, but Feedy just has not won a game yet. So circle Saturday if you're a White Sox fan, because that's the game that you really that you're going to be watching to try to win. As far as the Chicago Cubs, don't take them lightly. Do not take them lightly. This is very well a sleeper series coming up that you could find yourself losing. So that's my time for today, man. Listen, I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure that you tune in, that you don't miss a single solitary beat. I'm going to be here covering this amazing series. Me and Kev will probably do something together, probably recap Sunday. I think probably will be the most ideal thing, is probably me and him talking Sunday, but we might drop something on you on Friday. We'll see. But nonetheless, listen, I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure that you guys like, share, and subscribe so that you never miss any of the content over here on Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Until next time, go Cubs go. Peace.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the number one spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.